trust me era of wellness is over.
Oh, yeah. It's trust but validate.
Yeah. And I encourage our customers to ask us the hard questions. I don't want to just say, oh, we're clinically studied. I want to be able to show our customers the clinical study, how many people were in the study, how long was the duration of the study. We see a lot of these brands and individuals pushing supplements that have only been studied in men.
That just would not work for women.
Yeah, that don't work for women or have an impact on women's hormones. We have to be careful because we're so bought into the hype and really trust individuals across these different social platforms. There was a guy who's pretty well known who told me, like, you can either start a family or you can build a business, but you can't do both.
Kat, that makes my blood boil. Like, what did you do? What did you say?
I didn't say much. I just said, I'm going to do both. And I'm going to show, other women that they can also do both, and that's going to become a part of like my identity in a way.
It's kind of a cool time to be a woman right now. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we can be sitting here talking about our careers in AI and our kids are probably happily giggling somewhere safe and our husbands aren't calling us and asking what they should be eating.
Well, that's probably still happening in my case.
You're like,
I probably forgot to like buy something.
I am so excited to have this conversation today with Katerina Schneider, but I can call her Kat, and so can everyone else.
Yeah, I think you can call me Kat because you have 3 kids.
Yeah, I've earned my right to call you Kat, and you've earned your right to call me Mo.
Okay.
Because we have to find shortcuts when we have 3 kids. So that's a club that it's quite a club, 3-kid club.
We almost don't even need to have a conversation.
We almost don't. We just so get it. But Kat is the founder and CEO of Ritual Supplements, which is science-backed and transparent and just honestly quite badass. And I've always been a fan. And I guess I wanted to start out by kind of saying a lot about how I found you and kind of just like a gratitude statement because I have 3 kids. I have traversed both every type of fertility. So the fun 2 pink lines, newly married, all the way to IVF and miscarriage. And although I am a well-rounded, educated human, I was so vulnerable in that desperation of infertility that I went down some Reddit rabbit holes and found Ritual and I've been a customer since 2019. And I was just so grateful that you took on that mission and vision because of people like me who were really vulnerable to the snake oils of the world. And because I would have done anything to have another baby. And so I'm just wanting to start out with gratitude for your mission and vision.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'd love to start with the question about, this industry is wild, like truly Wild West. Like I get overstimulated in the supplement aisle. Also, I start to think I need everything. When you were starting out and you were creating the vision, what made you think, I'm going to stand out, I'm going to break through the noise? Like what made you think people are going to find you the real deal?
I think similar to you, I started the company when I was 4 months pregnant. And I was an investor in LA, investing in tech companies, everything from Uber, Dropbox, Warby Parker, Spotify. I was running a fund, perfectly engaged and happy. And then I started researching supplements because I needed them for my pregnancy. And I was just appalled. I was appalled by the lack of science. I was appalled by the lack of transparency when it came to ingredients. And I couldn't find a brand that I trusted. And so my personal mission wasn't just to, set a new standard for prenatal vitamins. It was really to set a new standard in the entire category. And what I've seen, and I think it's even gotten worse maybe in some ways in the last couple of years, 10 years ago when I was starting the company, the category had gone from 4,000 to close to 100,000 supplements in the last 30 years. And there haven't been any major updates to regulation since the 90s, since we're,
God bless the 90s.
I know it's like fun to say, but scary in the sense that, that's when Friends was premiering. And,
yeah.
a lot of my childhood.
Same. Those were like core memories.
Yeah, those were the good old days. You would expect with the rise in the category and the explosion in the category that there would be a lot more regulation and oversight in the industry, but there really hasn't been. And similar to when I was starting out, there was so many issues. You were walking through the supplement aisle as a consumer, and you were having to almost become your own federal agency and ask yourself, is this work? Is it effective? Is it safe?
Yeah.
Is it effective? Does it work, or is it going to hurt me? And when I was pregnant, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm asking myself this question of a brand that I should be taking from my pregnancy and beyond. And that's what led me to start this company and more broadly set a new standard in the industry.
Out of curiosity, did you have a science background? Because I couldn't find baby hats when I was pregnant. So I started a baby hat company, which feels very safe compared to diving into a science world that has such a large reach and impact. Was that your background? I mean, you were an investor.
Yeah, my background was in math. Both my parents are mathematicians. I studied,
love that.
I studied math at Brown, and I've just always been fascinated by data research and numbers. And it's interesting. Our tagline for a while was "For skeptics by skeptics," and I would consider myself the ultimate skeptic. I was a refugee that came from Ukraine and was kind of embedded in this thinking that everything was propaganda because that's what the Soviet Union was like. So I don't know.
I still kind of have that.
So when I was looking at, even supplements and the industry and CPG at large, I was the ultimate skeptic. I didn't study. I didn't have a PhD. I wasn't a medical doctor. And I think in some ways that actually made it better. I would say because I came from a VC background, I knew that I needed to raise money to build one of the best scientific teams in the world. And that's what I did. I hired
so you started with scientists.
Yeah, it was my first hire. I hired a founding scientist. Eventually, we hired a chief scientific officer who's been at the company for 7 years, who was ex-faculty at Harvard Medical School.
Also the coolest title ever.
Yeah. Not only did I know that it was the right thing to hire a scientific team, but it was really important to invest in clinical studies, and we're committed to having human clinical studies on every single one of our products by 2030 and have invested $5 million.
It's a lot.
To date, yes. And we have 4 studies, many of which are published in peer-reviewed journals. And this, I think, kind of where we started out, there's just this big issue when it comes to this term clinically studied in the category that's often
I almost don't take it seriously, honestly. I just go, oh, everyone's going to say that. How do you combat that? The white noise of clinically studied.
Yeah, it's misused, and there needs to be more regulation around what that means collectively. So right now you have products that say they're science-backed or clinically studied, but oftentimes they may have clinically studied ingredients, but the clinical studies don't even match the dose and form in those products. So how do you know that as a consumer? It's quite scary and challenging. I would say it's a tough thing to navigate, but we work with leading universities and research facilities on clinical studies that are double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. It helps us not only make stronger claims on the finished product, but really helps elevate women's health at large, which we know is underfunded and understudied.
Oh, I could TED Talk that all day. The fact that we don't even know what's happening to us when we're going through menopause because nobody taught us about any of it, and we just have to find out on the deep dark web, and there's just no information. So the fact that you have built a brand that people love and are pushing science forward is, I don't think many companies can say that they're not just for revenue, but they're for impact, which is quite it's quite unique and amazing. When I found Ritual and when I was pregnant, there was this concept of accountability that came up, because the second I started to look at my prenatals, because I was pregnant, because I was not just thinking about myself at that point, it made me have to stop and sit with well, what about my shampoo? What about my gel nail polish? And I actually kind of hated that feeling of like, I don't want to uproot my products. I don't want to care about this. But motherhood kind of forced me to care about that. Do you feel like some people are like, don't want to be pushed in that way of like, it's safe, it's natural, it's like that you've gotten some naysayers in that? Like, who cares?
Well, I think our customer is, we call them the healthy skeptic. We call them the chief health officer. And she's making like all the purchasing decisions for her household. And I encourage that behavior, and I encourage our customers to ask us the hard question. For us, it's not saying, hey, just take our word for it.
Right.
For us, it's showing the proof behind all of the decisions that we make as a brand. I don't want to just say, oh, we're clinically studied. I want to be able to show our customers the clinical study, how many people were in the study, how long was the duration of the study, right? And similar with the ingredients. I don't want to just say, hey, we have clean ingredients. I want to actually show where the ingredients come from, down to the source, down to the manufacturer, the final place of manufacturing, and why these ingredients were included. These are all kind of really important decisions that wrap around our products. And if I can kind of educate the consumer with that behavior for supplements, like amazing, because maybe that will transfer to like when they're choosing the deodorant or I think we should be asking more questions as consumers, and brands should be delivering those answers and the proof behind their products. I think we're done. The trust me era of wellness is over.
Oh, yeah. It's trust but validate.
Yeah.
I think hearing about the traceable ingredients, when I read that, I was like, wait, why doesn't everyone do this? Like if this, you could have told me that's just not possible, and I would have been like, oh yeah, totally, because the suppliers don't want that type of visibility. But you've obviously made it possible. Why don't more? Is it expensive? Is it hard to get buy-in? Why don't more companies do that, traceable ingredients?
We are proud of the ingredients that we choose for our products. Omega-3s from microalgae, D3 from lichen, methylated folate from Italy. We know our suppliers, we trust them, and we're so proud of them. And it's exciting for me to be able to list them across our site. It's actually why we were direct to consumer from the beginning. When you look at other products in the space,
they're not proud.
It's not even that they're proud. They don't know their supply chain. A lot of, I think this is why the category has exploded. Companies can go, a person can go to a manufacturer and say, hey, make me XYZ supplement, and they'll make it for them. The formulation, the sourcing, the ingredients. And I think that's more typically how it's done. It's actually very uncommon to have a scientific team that formulates the products, that has the direct relationships with ingredient suppliers.
Terrifying.
Yeah. And also the way that products are encapsulated. So we have 6 patents right now, just even on the delivery technology around our products.
I mean, even what's always stood out to me is the capsule itself. What's interesting, and I was, as I was kind of thinking about my journey of how I feel about your brand, because again, it's a lot about feeling. And like I said, I was in quite a dark place when I encountered it, and being like, oh, I just need to find the best, because I mean, I was trying like charging my crystals kind of thing. Like infertility is tough, right? What I'm always like, my millennial self will never not care about brand. I try to not care, right? Like I'm like, that's silly. Supplements don't need to have a cool brand. But Ritual has always stood out as like earth tone, pop of color, clean lines, just really kind of fun, which is like a really weird word to attach to a supplement company. That's actually how I got excited about it. Before, I was curious about the clean ingredients and the science-backed. Was that the intention, or was that just like something my millennial self attached to the brand first before becoming curious about the actual meat of it?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story because, I came from this tech background. I also was really close to a creative, and that was a very important part of my life. And when I started the brand, I just new founder, raised all this money and spent it on brand identity work that didn't feel right.
Oh,
I
really?
worked with an amazing designer. He created a lot of iconic brands that we know and love today in D2C. It felt very much like wellness meets ASAP. And I love ASAP,
same,
but I don't
but
want to be ASAP.
no.
I want to be Ritual, right?
Yeah.
And it made me feel nothing. And so here I was, just raised all this money and basically wasted it all on brand work that didn't make me feel anything. What do you do?
Was that devastating? I can imagine looking at them being like,
what do you do? Do you continue with that brand identity or do you start from scratch? Do you start again? And I'm so glad I started again.
I'm so glad you started again.
And I worked with these two amazing women who really got it. And it's we are so focused on science, but how do you pull people in through the science versus pushing it? And the bright yellow represented morning, day. And the vision was, around ritual. How do you elevate a routine to a habit, to a ritual being the ultimate thing that somebody looks forward to every single day? And the vibrancy of the brand and the aesthetic really transferred. And I think the other piece is how do you show transparency? How do you show, how do you build trust through how something looks and feels? And so the clear bottle, the clear capsule, how do you show more than you say? And I think that is a really important thing. I know we're going to talk about, obviously D2C and e-commerce. And I think the more you can show a feeling and show your words or show what you mean versus say it, and you have very limited space to do that on a website or a unit carton, the better it is. And I think that's where a solid brand identity is so important and made me, I wasted a lot of early funding, but I had to get it right. And I think it paid off.
Yeah. I mean, it paid off. And again, because I was drawn to that joy. Again, when you are looking at they all kind of look the same to me. I mean, it just kind of clinical and confusing. So you see yellow, truly, even if we're just talking about the yellow, or then the little beads in the, just seeing it, you're like, oh, this just feels right. I like the feeling I'm getting. And then when I actually ordered them and got them and looking at the little beads, holding a capsule, the fact that you can carry your branding all the way through to the end product and that it's quite a joyful experience to take a supplement is wild to me that you could accomplish that. But it took work and thought, and it's the power of branding, but the branding has to back up then the meat of the company, which is truly the clinically proven and science-backed portion of the company. So it's just so cool how those can work together, I think.
Yeah, they have to work together. I think that's where it all that's the magic. I think it's also the magic of the team that you build that's multidisciplinary and very dynamic. Since day one, we hired scientists, we hired engineers, we hired in-house creative. We built an in-house creative agency and studio. And, you have e-commerce experts, you have all these people working under one roof. And that's that unlocks this really, synergistic magic that you don't get when you're just one thing or you're outsourcing everything that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about how, Leica is an AI company in e-com. We want to do this well. I know as a founder, as a CEO, of course you want to innovate. Of course you want to scale. You want to move fast. You want to do more with less. All the taglines that AI has. But you're fiercely protective of your brand because the second trust is faltered that you built brick by brick, that trust, I mean, you lose customers, their loyalty, their trust. How have you thought about innovating with AI in your space? I know there's the really fun campaign about the AI moms, and I love it because they're like, I'm AI and this isn't real. But AI or not, how do you think about innovation in your space?
Yeah, it's hard to not think about AI. AI is a tool, an incredibly powerful tool across so many different disciplines within our company. I would say I use AI every single day. and our team does as well, whether it's, UX and even just customer research and to Clockwise, which manages all of our calendars. There's so many ways that our team uses AI. I think where that campaign was fun for us is that Google released VO and it was very new, and we were one of the first brands, if not first brand in our category, to use to jump on the tool. We were working with Giant Spoon, which is a fantastic creative agency. They're friends and partners of ours, and they're like, hey, have you seen this? Like, you guys talk about, being real and how you are the real deal and transparency. Like, wouldn't it be fun to turn this on its head and just use a bunch of, fake millennial mom avatars?
Which I identified with all of them. I'm like, oh, I'm the problem.
We used a bunch of AI mom avatars to say, hey, I'm not real. And we addressed it head on. We're like, these are not real actors. They're not real models. And they, said things like, pregnancy was the best 9 months of my life. And, my child always goes to bed in 10 minutes. And so all the things you knew were fake, we're like, this is fake. But it's real. Ritual's real. And it was controversial, I think, just even using AI because people have mixed thoughts about it. Even our team, from a sustainability perspective, we had to measure how much energy this was using, even just to use the tool. And
I love that thoughtfulness,
because so I think it's complex. It isn't so simple for us to go and use this. And I think for us, it was really important to be really clear that we were using AI. It was kind of one of the first times we deeply used AI creatively. Probably not the last, but I feel really confident and I feel very strongly about being really clear when companies are using AI. And I'm still really nervous about it. I think as a company that's built on transparency and trust, navigating that is tricky right now.
Yeah. I mean, and no one wants to be the sacrificial lamb that's like, oh, don't do what they did with AI. On the inverse, and I try really hard to not glorify AI because that's weird and I love realness. I mean, if you walked into my living room, it'd be Nerf darts and forts. It's very real chaos in my life. But I was talking to Priya, our co-founder, about the potential of storytelling of the harder stuff, like infertility, miscarriages. These are quite taboo topics. And I wonder if there's a space for AI to step in on behalf of humans that don't want to be the face of that story, but tell the stories that need to be told. And so I wonder if there's a way to do it well. And just your thoughts on that, there's, there's so much story to be told, but maybe we don't want the human face behind that.
Yeah, we actually did a campaign. Our tagline is for the Real Bodybuilders. And I think it's really powerful because you can imagine that over a pregnant belly.
I love that commercial, by the way. When the candle blows out, I get weepy.
Oh, you saw it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Because that was my life, the injections and just that cycle of disappointment and highs and lows and laughter and trying, and it was so impactful.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think it's a good example of us, how we shape culture and not follow it. And I think where that came, this campaign was the insight, which I think is a really interesting way to use AI. We didn't for this, but I think AI could be a very powerful tool to deliver insights for campaigns. We saw that 70% we have this active subscriber base, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, for almost 10 years, pretty crazy. We think of them as a think tank. So we use them all the time for insights. And one of the insights we saw was that 70% of those kind of in that pregnancy phase were having a challenging time actually conceiving, and whether it was miscarriages or unforeseen challenges. It's pretty high. And then 4% of them felt seen or heard through media during that time.
That's low.
Well, it's true. I mean, all of the ads that we see in this category around flowers and pregnant bellies, dancing around fields,
It's so true.
It's everything's so wonderful. I'm like, no, it's not. not for most of us. And so that was like pretty powerful. I'm like, how do we create something that makes people feel seen and heard for the first time around trying to conceive? This was before we had a fertility product. And so it wasn't even like that connected.
It was more just like a look inside a woman's life at like that time.
We showed so many ways in that people had through pregnancy, good and bad. And people were literally writing in that they were crying and they were in tears. They'd never seen themselves before. And so it was quite powerful. And I think just going back to your comment on like, can you use, I don't know, like I would still love to encourage people to share their authentic stories. I think that's quite powerful. And I think we have so much more work to do there. Where I think AI could be powerful is like delivering insights. It is on the customer insight side. Like we've been using it to, you know, we have bots that talk to our customers and see like what we could do better and how they navigate the site. And and I think there's probably a lot to do there to even just deliver that like key insight that can drive a campaign with real people.
I wonder if people are more comfortable to tell about these things. Like, I want this to be better. I mean, as a recovering people pleaser, I think I'd feel better to give feedback to a bot and about a company rather than like that sweet, like associate that's just trying her best. Like I'd be like, no, everything's perfect. So I do think you could probably gather quite a bit.
I've seen, I was like, wow, this person really like
they have an opinion.
I was like, wow, there's some people that have really strong opinions. I don't know if they would have said the same thing to us directly, but I'm hearing a lot of like directness that I've never sensed before.
Anonymous.
I mean, it's amazing. It's super helpful.
Yeah. When you say that you want to like shape culture, what are some ways that you envision that for the future?
Well, between the two of us, we have 6 kids. I have 3 girls. I don't know.
3 boys.
Oh, okay.
They would have so much fun.
That's really funny. Well, so it's interesting. I guess having girls is interesting for me as someone who works in women's health because I do not want them to live in the same reality that I'm living in today. I mentioned this earlier, there's a lack of funding and lack of research when it comes to women's health. We don't know as much as we should about our bodies or critical life stages, whether it's pregnancy, postpartum, fertility, perimenopause. None of these are niche, but they feel really niche because they're underfunded and understudied. And so I think the future for as I'm concerned is like making a better future for my girls. And I think that comes from actually advocacy in our category. So we're spending a lot of time in DC and Sacramento, and we were actually the only company the only brand that led the charge to pass the recent bill SB 646 in California, which just got passed.
They have to disclose lead?
They have to disclose heavy metals and prenatal vitamins. And there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's no health protective measures when it comes to heavy metals in the category. So people, you know, don't know in aggregate what they're consuming when they're consuming so many different supplements. And so it's exciting. California seems to always be taking the lead.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, but we were the only brand that was involved and pushed it through. And so I'm really proud of that. It's just an early kind of...
That's such a win.
Yeah, it's such a win. Feels bigger than the brand and the company, and something that we're going to continue to do. I think that advocacy around terms like clinically studied are really important as well. And I hope to continue that work with the team and the investment that we've put in.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I can't even imagine like the fire I would feel raising 3 girls, but on the inverse, raising 3 boys, you better believe they all know what a luteal phase is. And there'll be no mystery or disgust around anything about women's health. And I think that is the part, you know, that I can play is this curiosity and empathy and just a knowing of that on behalf of their future partners or friends, because they don't have sisters. So it's really like me carrying that feminine torch.
Maybe you can educate my husband while you're at it.
I mean, truly. I mean, not until infertility for me did I even know what LH spikes or any of these things were. And that that grieves me, like that we didn't have this deep intuitive lesson from maybe our moms, or they didn't have it around birth, all of it. And so, yeah, I think you're right. Like we can create an empathy around this for our kids that is just like pretty exciting to think about.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, one of my kids is about to go through puberty. She's going to kill me for talking about this. So maybe I should just stop now. But I do think it's interesting. There's a very I think in school in particular, there's just like a lack of education around body literacy. And there's so much we can do as parents, but then also like changing the systems so that not just girls, but anyone can understand what happens during different phases of your cycle. Like, because it impacts, like you said, not just your period, but fertility and reproductive
moods,
health.
Everything. Yeah. There's everything.
So it's fascinating. I'm curious, like being in AI, like if you do see anything on your end that can impact women's health and in the AI space.
I think AI in general in medical space is just going to be exciting if wielded well. There's this podcast I was listening to about how there's so many medications that were created and only intended for one thing, because you can't say, oh, this medication does X, Y, and Z, but one single medication can actually cure wild amounts of things, but there's not been that algorithm up until AI to have all of this data. But people are getting their lives saved from like a seizure drug for like a completely different disease. And I think that's where I'm so excited to watch AI kind of really filter that data, because we need some help in the women's health aspect. I mean, truly watching friends go through menopause and just searching for any answer and not understanding why they're tired and they don't feel like themselves and they're just on Reddit. Like that's the best we can do. So I'm just hoping that just the large amounts of data will be processed. And then from a marketing perspective, I'm kind of what I was saying earlier. If there's shame around this, maybe the boldness of AI and maybe pushing that boundary from a marketing perspective will create a bit more normalcy around the topic. I mean, men are still going to wince when you say you're on your period. And until they ask like, what do you need right now? A snack or a nap? Then I don't think our job is done. Until it's just like so normal and kind of like respected, because we go through a lot.
Yeah, we go through a lot. I think and tying it back to wellness, a lot of, as the category has exploded, people are so fascinated by supplements. And obviously, we spend a lot of money in partnerships across podcasts and influencer. And I think what's interesting, you see a lot of these brands and individuals pushing supplements that have only been studied in men. And I think it's like, or wellness, rituals that have most of the research in men, and
that just would not work for women.
Yeah, that don't work for women or have an impact on women's hormones, can impact like early onset of menopause. It's kind of not funny, but it happens. We have to be careful because we're so bought into the hype, and really trust individuals across these different social platforms. But I think the question to ask is like, what are the studies have been on women? That's an interest, intermittent fasting is interesting. Like, let's look at the studies on women. Should women been doing intermittent fasting, for instance, across every phase of their cycle? Like, and I think that most answer is probably no. And I think that's a really, going back to the beginning, like that's a good question for consumers to ask, especially when it comes to wellness. I don't know how that relates to AI, but maybe, I think you can use AI, I think also as a tool, as an interesting tool to do validate some of the research for yourself.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Me, same. Seriously though, if someone saw my chat history, I would definitely not become president. But I think that is, now we have the access, right? There's really no excuse. I can literally take a picture of my supplement bottle, put it into chat and say like, what sticks out to you. Even if I don't know the right questions to ask, the information is there. But yeah, so I think, me being in this space of like, I care about branding, marketing, and working with e-commerce, trying to, again, do this well, shape this correctly. And that only means that there's just more access to maybe more diverse models, maybe more harsher truths, things that maybe there's been a hesitancy around. How can we push that boundary until it becomes normal is how I hope it works. But it's a slippery slope, and I get that. I do think, a lot of people say, well, how do we know it's real anymore? When it comes to a model. And the only reason that I'm a little shocked by that question sometimes is because we've been airbrushing models to a painful degree on magazine covers for decades. Like, we grew up with unrealistic expectations. And it's funny because a lot of the brand models we're training up, they have plenty of imperfections. They have cute freckles and scars and like weight on them. Maybe that will encourage realness, not fakeness, not airbrush. That's my hope, at least, because I definitely don't want a sea of sameness, as I don't think anyone does. I don't think, but that's my hope, at least.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a friend who's a very successful healer, tarot card reader person.
Love.
And
Intro.
I love talking to her about AI. Actually, it's a fun conversation that we have. You would not expect it. But
I have FOMO. Like, I'm just like, take me to that
I know
conversation.
This is like the 180 from Ritual. It's necessarily science backed.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we often talk about like, how can people tell if AI is, creative, is real or fake, or what we see is written by AI or a human. And I think there's this energy component that 9 times out of 10, I can definitely tell instinctually because of the energy that comes through. There's this certain energy when you're like on the go and you're writing a post on LinkedIn or Instagram or something. And if you're in a good mood and it's like has like this high energy, it ends up performing really well.
Yeah.
When you're like not in that mindset, or you've just written something on
chat
and you posted it, like zero engagement.
Not only that, you write it on chat and then you're extremely insecure when you post it because you're like, that's not even my voice.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy I think that the people are going to become more able to really tell the energy in the state in which people are writing and creating content.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to become like even more of a strength within humans. And like honing in on that.
I love this.
So it's something that I've been thinking a lot about as I've been trying to decipher what's real and what's fake, even through my feeds and personal content. I'm like, I can feel the energy across these things. I don't know if that's going to shift, but right now, and maybe it will, but right now you can feel it. And I think kids can feel it too.
Oh yeah. I think you're right that authenticity shines so bright right now. And it's a really fun time to be creative because you absolutely break through the noise. And I was posting on LinkedIn about my job update, going from my last job to Leica and taking this founding role. And I didn't use AI. And I put at the bottom, like, note, I didn't use AI because the structure of it was dulling my chaotic excitement because I put it in there for grammar. It totally took my joy. It took my joy and it took my energy. So I think you're right that either people will become more intuitive to read the room, or the intuitive people will just be like the AI, we're just scanning for all authenticity.
Yeah, it's so true. I think the chaotic nature is like what's getting attention right now.
Yeah.
In the sea of sameness.
Yeah.
But I know obviously you can train.
Yeah, that's weird.
You can train things to represent your voice and your tone and all that. I've like played around with that a bunch, but I think it's interesting. I use Poe, and I use it. It's an aggregator, but like I use it I feel like one of the things that I have always had a hard time with is like writer's block or like
blank slate,
getting started on something.
Yeah.
And I think it's been really helpful for that, whether, you
Yeah.
know, it is a presentation or email or
Yeah.
a chat with someone. Like it is helpful in that sense. But then I kind of really, you know, put my own energy behind it.
Yeah.
I write my own words or say my own things. That I think that's where it's been really powerful as a CEO.
Yeah. I mean, you're balancing a ton. So any type of like, okay, this will help me get over the, what do I at least want to say? And then I'm sure you actually delete it and go, okay, I know the concept now. So I'm going to put this in my own words. Actually, I'm curious about that. I mean, you are a CEO, you're a founder, which not all founders should or could be CEOs, and not all CEOs are definitely not founders. So that combination's quite intense, because you care so deeply and you're still building brick by brick. You have a vision for it. Oh, I love that for you. But you also have 3 kids. So how do you do that?
I don't know. Someone asks me that every day. I was just in Orange County speaking at a conference, and then I popped on into our Omni sales channel. They're like, what are you doing? And I go, I'm just on my way to a podcast. I love being both. I mean, I obviously, you know, the company, we announced 250 million in retail sales last year. It's not a startup anymore. I would be lying if I said I know how to run a, you know, several $100 million company, and I've done it before. I have never done it.
Yeah.
I just deeply care about the mission, and I'm doing it, and I'm learning on the job. I think there is a double standard around being a female founder and CEO, because I think that, you know, when you look at like even the CPG female founders that have come before me, like there's just this there's expectation to be very external facing and represent your brand all the time and just be doing that.
Yeah.
And I think from the early days, I think it's important. We've seen, you know, from some of our data that people, when they know about my story, they connect with the brand and they'll buy the product. I wrote a book recently because of that, and because I had a lot of fun writing it. But I never wanted to be that kind of founder and CEO. Like I actually enjoy running the business, and I enjoy having all the different teams report into me and setting the vision and the strategy and looking at the P&L. And like, I'm like, this is actually what brings me joy, and it's worked so far. I think the balance of like figuring out what is the job that you can do that no one else can do is what like probably keeps me up at night. But yeah, I think it's there's never enough time. I think, you know, having 3 kids, being the founder, being the CEO, I just published a book like a week ago that got released.
What's it called? It's
called Help Yourself. It was published by Abrams. It's a wellness manual. It's got recipes and scientific advice around sleep and stress. And
where can we get it?
Amazon is probably the best place, but it's in like hundreds of bookstores and stuff across the country.
Does everyone hear that? Okay.
Yeah, it's doing really well. I'm really excited about it. I've barely had time to really promote it as the way I'd like to, because I'm obviously running the company.
Yeah,
but it's all connected. I think it's like, how do you figure out how all these things interconnect? I think it makes your life easier. And I bring my kids to work. Sometimes they know exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. They're inspired by it. And I think it's just like aligning with your vision and mission as a person and a leader.
How cool for your girls to see that. Like that's so far from my life that to watch that and know the art of the possible. I mean, it's kind of a cool time to be a woman right now. I mean, the fact that we can be sitting here talking about our careers in AI, and our kids are probably happily giggling somewhere safe, and our husbands aren't calling us and asking what they should be eating.
Well, that's probably still happening in my case.
You're like,
I probably forgot to like buy something. But,
hey, we're not perfect, but it's doable.
I think that my favorite thing is just not having like guilt about things. I think that's the only way to do it. And I think figuring out what your like focus is for the week And sometimes it's not our relationship. Sometimes it's not our health. Sometimes it's not our kids.
No,
like
not at all.
sometimes it's
a
entirely
massage.
yeah. Maybe it's a self care.
Self-care. Yeah.
But like I think you can actually do more than a couple of things really well in a given week, or be there for everybody, and just like kind of the way that you plan your work is similar to the way you kind of balance your entire life. And that's worked well for me. It hasn't made everyone happy, but it's allowed
that is
me
not the goal.
Yeah.
To be really clear, we know that making everyone happy is not the goal. I mean, you probably really shook stuff up when you decided to become a founder of this, right? I'm assuming that I think I read somewhere that an investor was like, you need to choose.
Yeah, both my husband and I were both entrepreneurs. He was a serial entrepreneur when I met him, and he left his other company to start a company at the same time I did when I was pregnant.
Sounds not chaotic
we're
at
both
all.
like, yeah, let's just, not make
Sounds romantic.
make no money and have a baby. Like, that sounds like a great plan. It was crazy because I did know a lot of folks in the venture community. And so I privileged to be able to raise funding as quickly as I did. It was still really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people don't realize. It was still really hard. It was so weird to be on the other side of the table and realize how hard it was. It almost changed like how I thought of myself as an investor. I was like, wow, I was really shitty. But there was a guy who's pretty well known who told me, like, you can either start a family or you can build a business, but you can't do both.
God, that makes my blood boil. Like, what did you do? What did you say?
I didn't say much. I just said, I'm going to do both.
I think so.
Yeah. And I'm going to show, other women that they can also do both. And that's going to become a part of like my identity in a way, because we need more women starting companies.
Yeah, we do.
And it's like, especially if it comes from a personal need, there's just like this conviction that feels very different that I've seen even in our space, where you have men that see like a big business opportunity, whether it's menopause or other categories. And it's just different. The brands and the companies that come out of that are different than someone who's trying to solve a problem for themselves. Yeah. Can every founder be a CEO of had like billion-dollar company? I don't think so. I don't think they want to be. But I think that initial conviction is really important. And it's important, especially for women's health.
Yeah. Kat, this has been my favorite. I was so personally touched by you having that courage, and my friends, and I'm again, loyal customer, now friend. And so I just feel, just grateful that you took that chance and that you rolled the dice on yourself and that you silenced the naysayers so that we can just be progressing in women's health. So I'll keep teaching my boys to be good partners, and we got this.
That's amazing. Thank you.